this time. Perfect. So we're live. I'm just going to click the record button as well. Yeah. All right, welcome everyone. We're live for the second episode of Finesse My Finance podcast. I'm joined again today with my fiance Caroline and also our special guest who will introduce himself in a second. Thank you everyone for joining. Please pass around to everyone else that's not online right now. Let's get them on. We're going to talk about everything love and finances today. We're going to have a bit of fun at the side like we always do, but we're all going to try and get something to learn as well. So I'll start off by just allowing our special guest to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, so my name's Atto, so I'm founder of Savvy Wallet. So basically I create content, or financial content, should I say, for millennials and Gen Z. So you can find me on Savvy Wallet. And yeah, I'm in a relationship, so I got recently engaged in December. Hey. Thank you. Yeah, during the lockdown, I had to cancel. It was originally supposed to be in November, but I had to cancel it because of lockdown. So yeah, and then lockdown happened right after. So yeah, I was lucky.
Hi everyone, I am Daniela Junas. I'm the founder of She's the Boss International. I provide coaching and consultancy training for entrepreneurs. I am married. I've been married for 8 years this year. Been with my husband for 16 years in April.
Wow, come on.
Hi, I'm Deandra. I am also a content creator on finances. I primarily share my financial independence journey, and I'm over on YouTube as Finance D. I am married as well. I've been married for 1.5 years, so I'm technically still a newlywed. And yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Nice. I got some catching up to do. So my name's Lewis Howell. I'm the co-director and co-founder of an organization called Revolution Hive, which equips young people for life beyond the classroom, doing work in schools, colleges and universities around personal development, social responsibility and global citizenship. And then I also run another consultancy and training company that focuses on improving social mobility for people from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I also volunteer with the 100 Black Men of London. I've been in my relationship for 5 years this May. And listen, I'm saying this with my whole chest. I'm not going into 2022 and I'm not engaged in it. I told my girl one time, yeah, if I propose, I told my girl, if I propose to you and you say no, you got to propose to me next time, innit? So I told her straight in it, like, that's the pattern. Yeah, know what the thing is. And I'm not trying to go into September of 2022 and I'm not married, blood. So I'm just throwing it out there, innit? You got to speak these things into existence.
You definitely do. Hi everyone, my name is Peter Kay and I'm a personal finance and business coach. So I help people to get in control of their finances and really just to learn how to strategically plan in order to meet their goals. My main mission really is to help people to stop surviving and start thriving in their finances. I've been married for just over 2 years now, so I'm still technically a newlywed too, and I've been with my husband for 4 years next month.
Nice. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline. I'm a pediatric nurse. I am also doing my master's in becoming a specialist public health nurse. And I also have a platform called Mummy and Me, and that just focuses on early interventions and families and young people and just growing their development and like helping them. And I'm also newly engaged to this hunk over here. So yeah.
Wicked. All right. I'm going to start off with a very easy question. Love and finance we're talking about today. But it's a very easy question, but at the same time, the answers and the results that we get from it are quite split. Some of you guys have been in a relationship for a while, so you have to think back about what it was. Some of you might still be having a problem right now, to be honest with you. But if you go on a date or like the first date, who do you think in this day and age should be the ones that are paying? Who wants to go first? Who wants to give their answer? There's no wrong answers. Don't feel like you're going to get berated. Well, you will, but it won't be by any of us anyway.
I'm going to go. Hold on.
Go for it.
We're going to go. Okay, I'll go. In my case, I paid first, but that doesn't mean that a woman shouldn't pay. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to cause controversy, but I paid first. So, yeah.
Why do you think it is controversial? Like, why is there like a big stigma over it?
I had this conversation. I don't even want to get into it, but I had this conversation on Friday about finances, and even if a woman earns more, and a lot of guys feel like they wouldn't want to be with a woman that earns more. So, stigma, to be honest, there's a lot of things. Again, I don't want to unpack it here. I think that might be a different conversation, podcast idea, but yeah, I'm just putting it out there.
Me, I think that the man should pay, but that doesn't mean I don't go out with my cards on the first date, which I did with you.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I think, you know what's interesting? Similarly, yeah, I personally, I did pay first, and I also feel like it's just a polite thing to do, innit? As a guy, like, you are more often than not, and I'm not saying always, but more often than not, you're probably the one pursuing the woman, innit? You're seeking her interest. So I think just out of respect for the fact that you've probably invited her out of her house, yeah, to come and spend time with you, it just kind of makes sense. However, I also know that this is where it borderlines a conversation about gender stereotypes as well, because you could argue that to some extent a woman might feel disempowered, or is this to say, don't see me as a damsel in distress, like I have to be paid for, which is why I think you also need to allow for it to be a conversation if necessary. Now, I know, for example, we don't keep a track, but I'd probably say it ends up being quite equal in my relationship, where my girlfriend will happily say, babe, I'm paying for this one, or I'll say, I've got this one. But I do remember before this relationship, I remember one time, it's going back in I think I was like 19 or something, and I went to go and pay for a meal on the first date, and the girl said, At details, I was taking out cash, and she said, don't do that. We don't use cash over here. And then she wouldn't pay for it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, how do I receive this? How do I receive this? Because not only did you not let me pay, but you also made me feel small. She said, don't do that. And then she just gave the guy her card. And I was like, okay. And the funny thing is, yeah, my friend was meeting me because I was going somewhere with him after, and he watched it happen. And I was like, bro, we'll talk about it later. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do in that moment. I just had to let it happen, man.
See, that's the thing. Because it does kind of, from a man's point of view, it does kind of hurt my ego a little bit. I can't lie to you. Like back then, I think I've definitely grown up now, so it's different. Now I see it's different. But the way I was brought up was, no, I'll take you out. And like I said to Caroline today, I said I used to have this thing where it's a bit of pride. So it's like I don't want to end up in the WhatsApp group when you're talking to your girls. Like, hey, can you believe this guy? Like, took me out. So you do those things to like, so you don't end up like that. The way that social media is now, you'll be the next meme.
I think it also depends on what the direction that the relationship or whatever it is going, and also the types of people that you want to be. So for me, my husband, when he wasn't my husband, he paid for on the first date. Subsequently, there's been situations where I paid, but had we gone on the first date and he'd expected me to pay, I would have had a problem with that. But that's because of the type of woman I am. So as much as I would say, like, I call myself the boss, and I'm a bit of a self-confessed control freak, at the same time, my man is supposed to be my man and he's supposed to look after me and do those things. Does that mean I can't do it for myself? No. So if I decide I want to do it for myself, then I will, but you should offer first, in my opinion. But if you're not of that thinking and you're a modern woman and you wouldn't mind proposing to your man and that kind of thing, then that's for you to work that out. You can't have both, I don't think. So you can't expect the man to pay for you and propose and do all of that, but then you're still trying to be this kind of independent woman type thing. That sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that was a sneak diss at me, Daniela. I don't know if that was a sneak.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Because obviously, if that woman who had paid for you then turned around and was like, you need to look after me, like the two things don't make sense. So you have to pick which side you're going. You can't have both, is what I'm trying to say.
For me, I always would go on a date with the expectation that I'm going to pay my half. Yeah. And that was just always how I saw it. A lot of times that wasn't the case. They offered and said, no, I'll pay, and I'm happy to take it. But I always had the expectation that I would pay my half, he would pay his, because I make my own money, I can pay my own meal. That was just the way that I saw it. But I also thought it was really important to kind of have that mindset, because I'm not the type of person who's going to make you pay for my meal if I'm not feeling this state. Yeah. So if you know, things have been all right, but I'm not really going to go on another date with you, then absolutely not. You should not be paying for my meal. That's just wrong, in my opinion. So I think it's, a good mindset to be like, look, I'm happy to pay my half, but if you offer as a gentleman, I'll take it, But that's my perspective.
I like that. You know what? It just got me thinking at a time where I was dating, and I remember having this conversation with my friend. And it's funny that you say that because there's a lot of, you date a lot, and then you know it's not going to go anywhere. And then as a man, you feel like, oh my God, I'm having to pay, I'm having to pay, I'm having to pay, I'm having to pay. Then you feel like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to take anybody out. It's costing me too much money. It's costing me too much money. I'm not getting anywhere like that. So yeah, that just triggers something for me. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think for one of the last things I'll say is, I remember there was a time when I flipped the script though, and I asked her to pay, but that's because the date was dead. So like, why am I? Because the bill came, and she was just sitting there. And I'm thinking, what are you sitting? What, we splitting this 50-50, yeah? That's it. That's that. But it had to be done because, like you said, otherwise it gets too expensive. Why you get a free meal out of me? Doesn't make any sense. I can't see it going nowhere. So now I'm not willing to give you a free meal now. If I saw it going somewhere, then it's okay. It's different now.
I'd be livid. I'd be absolutely livid. Because this didn't go well for you, that means I must pay. No.
But you're
even
to be
worse, you
honest,
must pay now.
but you're paying for yourself. Like if he was asking to pay for both of you, then now you're pushing it and I would not pay.
Yeah.
But to pay for myself, because this probably was mutual, she might have felt the same way. I wouldn't have taken offense and be like, I just know that's the last date. Like
Well,
even for
course.
me.
We're not going out again.
But I think for me, like I would definitely say that I'd expect the guy to pay. Like even on my first date with my husband, of course, like my mom always taught me, always bring your purse with you, just in case. You never know what will happen. So yeah, of course, I brought my purse. So we come to the point of paying now, and I thought he was gonna pay. But you know, we paid for ourselves. I was like, okay. And do you know what's funny? Like in my mind, I was very much that independent person. And then a part of me is like, why are you mad? But you know, you're that kind of person that would be like, you don't need no man to pay for you, da, 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 da. But I was kind of hurt, and it almost led to never having a second date. But it was something that we spoke about. And at the same time, it was more because like that was like his first date ever. Like he was very inexperienced when it came to relationships. So like in his mind, like that's what like an independent kind of woman would want. But obviously now, like since being with him, that was definitely not a reflection of how he is. Like he is so generous. Like I don't need to worry about anything when it comes to money. So I was really glad I gave him a second date because otherwise I wouldn't have been here with him today. So I definitely say you got to kind of measure the reasons and not just flat out like, that's it. If the person obviously doesn't want to pay for you, just kind of assess.
So do you think we're using this as a test nowadays then? Do you think we're doing it as a test?
Oh,
like,
yeah, some people do. 100%.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, maybe guys are trying to feel out the woman. Like,
yeah.
Are you really about this? Because you posted on your gram saying, I don't need no man. I slid in the DMs. We're on a date now. You said, I don't need no man. Show me you're about that life, innit? Maybe we're using it as a test. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No, some men are. I've been told that by men. That if a woman expects them to pay for the meal, they're writing it off. And I think in these days and this day and age, I kind of agree. I personally don't think I should expect someone to pay for the food that I'm eating. Like if you offer, cool. But the expectation that I've just met you, we've gone on a date and you need to pay for my food.
I think you need to give them room to woo you. Because it's not that I wouldn't want to pay for it. And I used to feel very uncomfortable actually, like prior when dating. But then I thought, if I'm doing everything, when will I know you actually aren't interested? Mm-hmm. So you have to.
I do use it as a test though. Like there's so many times when I've told Caroline, by the way, I was testing you with that, by the way, just to see like what you do. Because this is what happens. Say like the meal comes, the bill comes for the meal is at the end. If I see you just sit there, like I'm gonna pay anyway, but I need something like this. Like look, make it look like
do the shuffle and pretend you're taking something out.
All right, bring the receipt closer to you and just look. just look at some numbers. Do you get what I'm saying? Show me you can read numbers. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I want you to look at the receipt as well because I want you to see what I'm doing, so you can see like. What man? That's what this guy's paying. Okay, cool. Okay, I know about this guy now. He's serious. You see,
but these times it was Nando's though.
When it's Nando's, you take that receipt quick time. You know, let them see that. I'll pay for that real quick. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I do use it as a kind of test. So if I see you just sit there, then I don't like the expectation that you just expected me to pay, because that's not the sort of person I want. Because I'm now looking at that in terms of my my future with each other. So like when now we're trying to build something together, we're trying to build an empire together. Are you now expecting I'm just gonna be the one building? You're gonna be sitting at home with the kids or something?
No.
We're coming together. So I know it's not the ultimate test, but it's things like that I put as a little test to see. Okay.
But
so
I would look at it the other way around. So you're saying you're going to sit back and say, well, when it's time to build, it's just going to be me building. But actually, I'm sitting here and say, when it's time that I'm going to have to go on maternity leave, for example, and you're going to have to support me, you're going to be looking and saying, I still need 50% of the household, but I'm sitting here giving birth to your baby, putting my life on the line for that. So no, like you can look at it either way.
The flip side of that then is, you can look at it like that, but I don't know if you can pay for things now, let alone when you're in paternity. Like, I need to see if you're willing. Like,
but okay. So then I make this empty gesture and pretend like I'm looking in the wallet, and I don't mind going house. But if you then say, okay, put the money down, then now, yeah, for me that's a problem. Yeah. So it is just, but we're playing a game now, because I know that I'm just looking at it and I don't have any intention of paying, and really I'm going to be annoyed if you accept the offer.
I think one other thing as well, then, if it is expected in some circumstances for men to pay, then men should be able to go to like a McDonald's or KFC or something like that, because we're the ones paying, in it. Like, yes, no, maybe not. All right, cool. It's worth a try, isn't it?
No, bro.
Too far.
Not on a first date. Still, not on a first date. The thing is, I don't eat those things in it personally, but I'm like, that's like, you gotta have been in that relationship a piece. That's like on the way back home from a motive or something. Do you know? Or you're coming. Do you know what I'm saying? You went to a friend's house, the food wasn't turned up. Do you get what I'm saying? That's a pass through on the way.
What about this then for a question? Because, okay, let's say for example, Valentine's Day is coming up, but you don't have the kind of bread that can take you out to say like we wasn't in COVID. You don't have the kind of money that can take them out to a nice place. But as the man, you want to pay. You want to be the one that pays for the meal and whatever you do. What is someone doing in that situation then? Because they're thinking, are they going to put themselves in financial difficulties to keep up appearances, or do they stay in their lane? Obviously, when I say McDonald's and KFC, I'm taking a piss. You're not going to do that. But like,
you find the most fire recipe online, bro. You find the most fire recipe online. You take your 10 or your 15 that you got. You hit whatever supermarket. Yeah, you chef till the cows come home. You invite her around, you light 2 candles, and you make that happen at home, bro. Do you get what I'm saying?
Next thing though,
you gotta do.
I'm just playing devil advocate of all these things. She's the type of person that doesn't want to go to your yard on the first date because she's thinking you're gonna try something.
Oh no, because you said Valentine's, I was thinking that. Sorry, my bad. All right, first date, yeah. Well, then it's techie, but you gotta just maybe be honest and say maybe now's not the time to pursue that one. Then no, because if you're not in a financial position, to be able to withhold her expectations, she's entitled to her expectations as a person. Where she's at in life, she might want someone who is currently in a certain financial position. She's entitled to see it that way. If you're not that guy right now, you have to be accepting of that. Do you get what I'm saying? You can't see it as she's judging you. She's not judging you personally. She just has expectations for her life at this point in time. That's okay. Do you get what I'm saying? At this point, bro, she's not for you. Because right now you can't meet her expectations, and that's okay.
All right. So at what stage do you guys think that the conversation should be had? Like the financial conversation, talking about finances, should it be at the courting stage when you guys are dating? Or do we wait till now we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend? Now, at what stage? When it's too early? When it's too late?
I think you can kind of gauge it, like, because you'll talk about what you do as a job. You might not talk about salary, but you'll kind of get a hint. So if you know somebody's a lawyer or doctor, you know that they're going to be high salary. If you know, I'm not mocking anybody here, but if you know they're working in a retail store, I've worked in a retail store in my past life, so. If you know they worked in a retail store, then you might figure out actually maybe this person doesn't earn that much money. But that only just gives you a small picture, because you don't know even if they've got a lot of money, there might be a financial difficulty, they might have debts, they might have other situations. I think it's a gradual process. If you start dabbling into that stuff, people can get really, really defensive. In terms of salary, I was happy to talk about salary from jump as early as I could, because to me, it's not that important. What I earn, what they earn, I'm transparent about, because I feel like the more transparent you are, the more you can overcome certain like, you know, boundaries. So I think it's good to have a little bit of it early, but be cautious as you go, because some people really get defensive about it.
I think age is important as well. I think depending on how old you are, depends on how quickly you should have the conversation. So when I first started dating my husband, we were both broke, but we were young. So I could afford to be with someone that didn't have no money, and he could afford to kind of see how this is going to work out. Is she going to make some money at any point? If I was single now, I need to know pretty quickly how much you're earning to know if you're going to be able to match the lifestyle that I've grown accustomed to, really. So I feel like it really depends, because when you're young, you've got time to build together. So I think you can be more, we always hear people say, I don't want to fall in love with your potential. But when you're young, I think you can afford to do it. When you get older, and particularly for women, when like biological clocks start ticking, if you want kids and all of that kind of stuff, yeah, I think you need to be a little bit more upfront so that you don't waste your time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think as well, it depends on the intention of that relationship. Like if you're just kind of getting to know for the sake of it, then it's probably not as important. But if you're thinking about building a future with that person, it is definitely important to talk about finances. Obviously, not necessarily in the first date, how much do you earn? But I think once you've gotten to a stage where it's serious and you're considering that person as a potential life partner, you need to know these things. Like, for example, when me and my husband were dating, we spoke about how much we earned, if we had any debt, because I was on the intention of getting married later on. And I'm not trying to get married to someone and then find out later on. So I do think once it's serious, you do need to have those conversations about things like that. Because when you don't, later on, they'll definitely affect the relationship. So I think transparency is definitely important when it comes to that. And also just kind of seeing if you are both compatible in that area as well is important.
Do you guys think it's easier if you're already in the kind of industry? So say, like, for example, a lot of us on here, we deal with finances, we deal with stuff like that anyway. So it comes more natural to us. But I know when me and Caroline first got together, it wasn't as natural. It wasn't as, like, Caroline wasn't as natural in it because it's not her area of expertise. So do you find that in your fields, it makes it a lot easier to have these conversations, or to see why it's necessary to have these conversations?
I'd say no, because when I started dating my husband, like I wasn't in finance at all. And we're still very young, like I was 22 at the time. But for me, my focus was more like, I'm thinking on my future and I'm not trying to repeat some of the things that I've seen. So I think not necessarily, because we're still like just learning, like even in terms of paying serious bills, I only did that once I got married and never had that responsibility before, but I knew that this is important. So I think, yes, we're more conscious of finances, but not necessarily. I think if you're thinking of future-wise, then you kind of need to be thinking about these things.
I agree with you, especially with what you said before, when you were like, you need to know how serious the relationship is. So I had never reached a point of seriousness like me and Michael before. So when the questions started coming about finance, I was like, I need to look up my finances. So it woke me up to a lot of things. And then it was very intimidating because he's in accountancy and stuff. So I was just like, oh my gosh, is this guy going to be checking me for what I'm doing wrong now? Like, I don't even know how to start and finish. So yeah, in terms of like when to have the conversation, I'm happy we did have it when we did, because then it gave me a lot of time through the relationship to start easing. Because I think at first I was very, very defensive. I was just like, let's not even have this conversation for too long. Let me divert it. But then it was quite good after a while.
Yeah. I also think you can tell a lot from actions without actually having conversations. So just seeing how they kind of act with their own money. So I think for like my husband and I, we were friends first before we even started dating. And I understood how he saw money. I understood that he was a saver. I understood that he was not a showy person. Like I understood those things without having the conversation. So I was able to pick up certain things. But I also think that there are layers to conversations about finances. Asking someone a salary is personal and, you know, not everyone feels comfortable. But I feel like there's some even deeper questions, like in a relationship, if one of us stopped working, what would happen? How do you handle debt? How, you know, there are lots of layers of conversations to have. And I think those happen a lot later in a relationship. So once my husband and I were engaged, we started having a bit more deeper conversations, even when it comes to kids. How do you see handling kids? And, you know, how do you see them handling money? Do you want to give them pocket money? I know that seems quite deep, but these are things that can cause tensions down the line. And they say money is the number one reason for divorce. And it's because people aren't having these conversations, and then they're shocked later on in marriage when you find out this person holds this idea that you had no idea that they even thought. And you're like, wait, I didn't know you thought that. Yeah, well, we never talked about it. So I feel like you do need to have, like, there's different layers to conversations throughout your relationship.
Why is asking people salary so awkward? Like, I don't understand.
I think we assume that our salary is indicative of our worth.
Yeah.
But obviously our salary is a temporary situation. Even if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, your salary and or the revenue of your business is also a temporary situation, which can ideally go up, but also can go down as well. But the fact of the matter is our worth goes beyond that. And so it's not to say that we must ignore the finances, because the fact of the matter is we live in a physical world that requires us to use the currency of money, right? But at the same time, it's not indicative of how worthy you are as a person. And I think this is where, you know, like Deandra, I really can relate to what you said, because as you said, actions are important. So I realized as Mike asked the question, I was thinking about it, and I was saying, at what point do you have it? And it's like, I think I always say to my girlfriend, I'm extremely grateful. And I think sometimes she doesn't realize how grateful until last week I was speaking to her and I was like, no, like, you don't understand. Because she was like, no, you know, like, now, like, she's like, you know, because I'm pretty sure that, what's she saying? We was talking about something and she was like, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I don't want to say it inaccurate. Basically, long story short, that's it. Yeah. We were talking about property investment. And we were talking about how much capital we each have saved for a particular investment. And she was saying, you know, like, I know you've got more, but I want to chip in and do my bit. I said, more? I said, you realize when we got together, I had quit my job 6 months before, and I was in my first 6 months of business. I was broke, like more than broke. Like, I ain't had a job since 2015, fam. This ain't a joke, innit? Do you get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you were there with me from then, innit? Do you get what I'm saying? So to me, I'm not even the person I am today without you, without your presence in my life. So as much as I see myself as I work hard and I drive revenue, and do you get what I'm saying? And I make money. No, don't play with me, bro. But as much as I see it as I drive, do you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Daniela's on my neck. But anyway, yeah, as much as I see myself as I drive revenue in my business, it's not for me, it's for us, innit? And I know it sounds very cliche and I know it sounds a bit blasé, but it's true. But the reason I say that as well is because going back to the thing about actions, is it that it's easier when you're in this space? Maybe, but I'd like to think if you're someone who's serious about your own life, you're probably going to take some actions to show you're serious about your own life. So I was quite open with my girlfriend about the fact that I am obsessed with personal development. So here's what I'm going to suggest. Sometimes now, instead of me going conferences and seminars on my own, just come with me, innit? The fact that she was even willing to come, the fact that, you know, we went to 1 or 2 financial ones, but they were like dealing with mindset before they even got to the practicals. And it was uncomfortable for me. It was like, this is great. Because now we don't even have to have the conversation. These external people that we don't know are forcing us to have the conversation. You get what I'm saying? And there was a couple times, I'll be real, when it was like they had us going back in our past, looking at what traumas do you have around money and things like that. And blood, we sat in a hotel one time for 45 minutes crying, fam, just in the hallway. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we were like, yo, this is a lot to deal with. But the fact is, we were there together. So to me, that let me know, yeah, like we're willing to do this. You get what I'm saying? So now it becomes a lot easier to be transparent. But I think it's about, can you put yourself in scenarios where the conversation is inevitable, as opposed if you are feeling like it's uncomfortable to be had on your own. So go to the seminars together. Go and, do you know what I mean? Be around people. Go and find your Mike and Caroline in your life where it's going to come up, innit? And then at least you got to say something. Do you know what I mean? At least in the car on the way home. Now. So let's talk about what just happened when we were at dinner at Mike and Caroline. Did you get what I'm saying? Do that if that's what you have to do. So yeah.
No, I think you have to be open and honest from the start, as early as you can. I think when we first got together, I think I was just in the process of just clearing off any debt that I got myself into. So I was just honest about that from the start. I was like, yeah, when I was younger, can't lie to you, I was moving a bit mad in terms of getting credit out here, there, and there, partying, holidays, everything. And I'm just in the process of, but I had to be open like that. But I think it's because, and I think you said it as well, what's your previous traumas around money? But the thing is, the way I was brought up, everything was spoken about in terms of money and stuff like that. And not just because I was in counts, but it was spoken about. My mum was very open about it. And then it, it allowed me to see, understand more, I should say, when she made major moves, like moving from one house to another house and doing all these kind of things, salary increases. I can see all that. So I'm used to it. Whereas obviously on the other side, Caroline's family was the complete opposite to that. So then that's why she said it could be intimidating, because I'm coming in just, everyone talks like this with their family. And she's like, whoa, what's going on here? We don't talk about money in our family.
We don't need to talk about that.
So like, I think you have to try and get it as early as possible, but at the same time, you have to understand your partner's point of view as well, and how they feel about that subject in the first place. Which I think goes on to the next point that we're trying to say. Do you want to ask it?
So is it important to discuss your good and bad habits relating to money and finances?
Just yes, yeah, it's important. Yeah.
Go on, Daniela.
Yeah, and I think having a relationship where you regularly communicating how you're trying to improve on some of the negative habits that you may have, but also being honest about it, because and making sure that your partner understands that you're not going to judge them, I think is really the most important thing, because what you don't want to do is create an environment where somebody might have really negative financial habits, but because they feel like they're going to be judged or chastised, they hide it, and then you find out 5 years down the line that your partner or your husband's got £20,000 worth of debt that's just been building because you never at any point made them feel like you could have that conversation. So I think when you're in a relationship as well, you need to be both looking at, okay, what am I good at? So it might be that one person's really good at budgeting, whereas the other person isn't. So that person should do the budgeting. Someone might be a bit of a shopaholic. So maybe the other person needs to keep the card so that they can't be shopping and wasting money all the time. So I think it definitely needs to be a joint effort, and that joint effort requires open honesty, transparency from the get-go.
Yeah, I like that you use the word judgment, because when he opened up about all his debt, I was like, woo, like it was such a relief. And it made me feel really comfortable with starting to talk about money. If anyone asked my friends before, when it came to money, the way I will just tense up, I haven't got time to have that conversation. So things have totally changed because he was very transparent, and it wasn't like, oh, this guy's gonna judge me. So I like what he said.
I definitely think it helps, that transparency. But for me, what I was trying to show to Caroline as well, especially when we was talking about it, was, hey, I work in the industry. I've been working in the industry since I was 18 years old, and I managed to get to the stage at 21, 22, where I'd messed my finances up completely. To the stage it took me like 5 years, 6 years to clear it up completely. So I wanted to show if someone who works in the industry can do that, then someone outside of it, like you said, there's no judgment or nothing like that. And I think everyone gets themselves into that kind of stage. But I had to also highlight what my bad habits were. When I was younger, I had a lot of bad habits. And there's some things now, it's like I've reversed it, but you still need to know that it's there somewhere. So if you're open and transparent with each other, then even if you don't realize that it's a bad habit, your partner might be able to say, you should be careful when you're doing that, or something like that. Like, because it could be something very small. I don't know if anyone wants else. Oh, go on, sorry.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, when you're transparent about those things, it allows you to learn from each other. Because I definitely say, since being in a relationship, I was so much more responsible with money, because I knew it wasn't just about me anymore. I think when you're free and single, it's kind of like whatever you do only affects you. But I think when you have that transparency in your relationship, it kind of pushes you. Like from starting to date my husband to where I am now, like things just increased, salary increased, like there was more of a drive to want to succeed because it wasn't just about me anymore. So I definitely say having that transparency and like talking about those things, like if you've got a shopping addiction, like be open. If you've got debts, like that was one of the things that I shared with my husband, a debt that I was working on clearing, and I best believe I cleared it, but having that accountability, I think that's what's really important, having that accountability. Because there's this term that I read about not long ago called financial infidelity. And that's basically where you're basically cheating, but when it comes to money, like hiding things and not being open. And that in itself can create so many problems. So like, just definitely just being honest. If you've got debts, just talk about it. And like Daniela said, obviously not judging, because then the person is going to want to hide it from you. So just kind of being a good listener when it comes to that, receiving that as well.
What about the good side? So let's say, you're saying that, and I'm not condoning this before I get shut down, like before I finish talking, but you're saying you shouldn't hide things and stuff like that in terms of finances. What about the good side? Say like you're about investing and you're in one account, you're racking it up. The girl don't know nothing about this, but it's not because you're trying to hide it from her, but it's because you're using it for your future. Is that gone?
So I've got a really good example of this actually.
Yeah.
So when me and my husband decided we wanted to buy a house, we set up a savings account. So every month I would put money in the like we had direct debits and it would go directly into the savings. Then when we actually found a house and we went to see the mortgage advisor, he sat in the meeting and he had double because he put money in a separate savings account. And I was just like, so you've just been hiding money. And at first I was like, this is really weird. Like, what was you hiding the money for? But what it then transpired was we were able to buy the house with a bigger deposit because he'd been hiding this money. And actually I felt really good about that. Yeah. But had he been hiding it for something else, then it would have been a completely different, and I found out it would have been a completely different response. So I feel like when it's a good thing, it can be quite sweet. And actually I was quite happy about that. But it's a fine line, right? Because it could have been anything.
But you know what's interesting here is like, because I think it was you that was saying it earlier, Daniela, because sometimes because like obviously it depends on your belief system around money to some extent, and I'm not trying to go impractical here and go to the theoretical, but like to some extent, if you're someone who believes in abundance, you also believe money's supposed to circulate. So I know for me early on in my relationship, probably because of the fact that I knew I didn't really have income like that because I was so early in business, I was proper just on like, oh my God, like I'm trying not to spend. But because my girlfriend's financial situation was better than mine at the time, she was happily spend. And now I always banter her because I feel like she's the ultimate consumer. Like she's the ultimate. If you have anything to sell, bruv, you probably sell it to her because this is like, she falls for things so easily. And I have to say to her, you do realize that's just based on the way they've marketed it to you. Like, I'm like, you do realize I used to run a marketing agency. Like, come on, bruv, this is literally just what she's like, oh yeah, no, you're right. Do you get me? I'm like, literally, if you actually went and actually bought all the things that you get lost in the sauce with every day, you'd have no money left. But anyway, the thing is, to some extent, you do need that in a relationship. Someone who also says, yo, like life's short, like let's actually buy things. Let's actually put our money to things and enjoy. And so then it does also balance out because, for example, when I was on the vibe of we need to get our finances in order, but more importantly, get our future in order, I'd gone into one next conference and then it was abroad and come back and whatever. And then we created this thing that was like what we call our Super 7. So it's like our non-negotiables, and it covers various different things across the relationship, but a couple of them are finance related. And it was like having a certain amount of money that we put into an account for just like us to do things every month and have experiences, or we will go on X amount of holidays per year to create memories. But in doing that, it means that we then automatically are holding each other accountable from a financial standpoint as well. Do you get what I'm saying? But if I didn't have someone like her who was actually encouraging the fact that no, we need to go out and do things to create the memories, and we need to do this, and we need to, it maybe wouldn't have necessarily compelled us to want to then actually make sure our financial affairs were in order to do that. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think it's interesting because you can go both ways, because there's obviously good financial approaches in terms of being a good saver, being a good investor, but you also sometimes meet people who are good spenders, people who make you realize the importance of making money circulate, because if money's not circulating, then it's got no use, it's got no worth in it. So yeah,
I think you need to have that. You need to have both sides, don't you? Because I know that's exactly how it is for myself and Caroline. If it was up to me, hey, I'm gonna put my head down for 3 years. I'm gonna build up as much money as possible, and then we can go on holiday. But she'll be telling me we need to go on holiday. Hey, don't run. Like, you need. I think you do need both sides, because you could do 2.5 years and be dead. I'm not even making it to the 3 years that you're waiting for the holiday. So you do need the other sides to do it. And the good thing is, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, you can answer.
No, what I was gonna say was the good thing is when it does come to like you're saying during the holiday or whatever. Let's say holiday was the example. I would know how to budget for it. So I'll be like, okay, cool. Okay, we'll go on holiday. I agree to that, but we're not gonna spend more than this because we're working towards that in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good to have both sides. Sorry, Daniela.
No, I was going to say, I think also those two sides are quite heavily determined by how you were raised and your views around finances. So I know for us, because I was raised and there's no pretty way of putting it, we were poor. Like we grew up, we didn't have much money. We struggled for many, many, many years. Whereas my husband, he grew up, and he hates when I say this, and if he's watching, he's going to be really annoyed. But he had like a driver, he went to private school, like he came from money. So whereas a really good example of this, so we both have different views on money. So I remember we were doing our kitchen. We went to Dunelm and we saw 2 lights for the kitchen and another light for the passage. And he was like, let's just get all of them. And I was just like, what? That's too much money. And he was like, but do we have the money? Yeah, but maybe we should just get the 2 and then we'll come back for the other one. And he was just like, this is the stupidest thing. It's on sale. It was in January. It's on sale. Just get the lights. Why can't you just get the lights? And just the idea of these big purchases for me, even till today, even though my finances have completely changed, I still have that kind of feeling of fear that you can't just spend everything at once. You should do it in smaller increments. And I think, again, as you said, having 2 sides of that. So it means I help him to be a little bit more frugal, but then also he makes sure that I buy the lights instead of paying more by paying a month after the fact, so I don't have to spend all in one go.
That's mad that you say that, because I grew up in a poor household as well. So as soon as we started seeing money, we were just taught to spend it because you don't know when you're going to get it again.
Oh no, mine was you have to hold on to it. You hold on tight because it may never come back around. Hold on to dear life. And I'm a bit better now. And I definitely feel like I have different views depending on what it is. So I'll spend on holidays and I'll spend on food and I won't blink. Like that's because I'm craving and I like to eat and I like the sun. But then other things, I'm just like, like clothes, shoes, cars, those kind of things. I'm just like, no, we can't spend excessive money on that. Whereas he wants the car and the 15,000 pairs of shoes.
Do you know what? That's such a good point you make, especially the clothes one, because sometimes I have revelations where I'm like going through my wardrobe and I'm like, why do I still have this? I literally have not worn this in so long. Or it's like, this has turned into like workout clothes or house clothes. But like, even working out, you're allowed to wear better clothes than this, Lewis. Do you get what I'm saying? But it's like, it's that thing of like, you're trying to get every lot. Like, honestly, there was about a time about 3 years ago where I was working out and I was like, it rained that day. And I was like, why is my sock so wet? Like, why is my sock so wet in it? This don't make sense. When I looked at the bottom of my shoe, there was a hole this big in my running shoe. And I was like, running trainers are like 25. But in my head, I still have this to this day. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a person that can go out and just like, those people that can go out and let me just pop into this shop and get some jeans. Because of how I designed myself, I still have to buy a whole wardrobe in one sitting. Like, as in, I'm going out this day and I'm buying everything. Then I'm not shopping again for 2 years. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the kind of person I am. I still have that. And I sometimes think to myself, why are you like that? Like, I can't just go, let me just get some new trainers, or I can't do that. I have to sit down and go, right, how much of the money that's here am I spending on going shopping, and how many items can I get for that?
I do the exact same thing.
Literally, it's like, if I put aside this 1,000, and I buy everything I need. This one day, I'm gonna buy everything. Do you get what I'm saying? Or do you get what I mean? Like, I'm still like that, and I still wonder, like, where does that come from? Do you get what I'm saying? And I think, and I'll be real, this is another thing, because we're talking about love and finances. I can't bring my girlfriend with me because she's gonna go, babe, what about? I don't hear that. I don't hear that on that day. Yeah. So do you know what I've started doing now? If ever she does want to come with me, the first shop I go to is something. I buy something for her, and then after the rest of the day, I don't want to hear nothing. Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing. Let me do my shopping on my own. Yeah, I don't want your suggestions. I don't want your input. Yeah, I don't want your recommendations. You're going to take me off track. I came here to do this. Do you get what I'm saying? I bought the things, the jumpsuit or whatever it was for you. We're good from here. Do you get what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I do think when it comes to things like shopping and everything like that, it's a bit different, isn't it? Like, everyone's going to have their point of view. You're brave. Can't lie. I don't know. I don't think we've ever done a shopping trip together like that.
Never.
Because
I'll be honest, I didn't invite her. She found herself there, is what I'm getting at. She said to me, I need to shop as well. She didn't have anything to shop for, guys. She just said that because she knew I was shopping. That's what it is.
I got a question on YouTube from Jonas. He said, what do you think about a man who has big ambitions, but right now he's broke? Just to give a bit of context as well, Jonas is 19 years old. But
I said this before. I feel like at 19, you can afford to be broke. Like, you've just started out. Like, you're only an adult for 2 years at this point. So I think you can, as long as you're very clear on what is, well, not even very clear, as long as you know that you don't want to stay broke, I think that's the definitive point. Like, if you're just, I'm broke and this is just it, and we're just gonna jam like this forever, that's a different thing. But I'm broke right now, but this is what I want to do. This is the direction I'm trying to go in, and I want this for my future. I think, yeah, like.
But you know what? One thing I will say though, I feel like it's harder for them at that age. Like, some of the things that I'm hearing some of the girls asking at that age from their man.
Social media.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy compared to when I see like my younger brothers or something like that, and when I see what they're doing, when I see what they're doing with their girlfriends, I'm like, you're moving. I don't even do that with Caroline. You're moving mad.
Yeah. This is it. It's social media. That age, I do not envy, like 18, 19-year-olds now. I was just speaking to my husband about this recently. They don't know a time without social media. Yeah. We are lucky, you know, I'm 28, so I know a time without social media, but I'm just borderlining that time. But I know what it's like to live without it. I know there's a lot of fakeness behind social media. These 17, 18, 19-year-olds do not know, they don't remember, they don't recall really a time without it. So their whole lives are almost based off of social media. So yes, these 19-year-olds want a Louis Vuitton bag. I don't even have a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm a 28-year-old and I make a good wage and I still don't feel like I can afford a Louis Vuitton bag. So when I see these 18, 19-year-olds walking around with it, I'm like, how? How are you walking around with that bag? But this is what they expect. And you know, in terms of the ambition thing, yeah, that's what I want to say. In terms of the ambition thing, there'll be some women or some men who are down for it, and there'll be some people who aren't. So this Liam guy, I think you said Jonas, yeah, sorry, yeah. Right? Yeah, there'll be some people who'll be down for it. You know, you're building up, you're ambitious. They'll be willing to build with you and grind with you. And there's just some people who won't. Just let them go, let them do their own thing.
I think that's perfect. I'm sorry. I was laughing halfway through because I was reading the comments.
No, I figured.
Man, who do you think you are? Who on earth do you think you are at 18, 19, talking to me about Nobu and Gaucho? And bruv, do you even know what these different cutlery on the table's for? Do you even understand that this glass is for this and this glass is for that? Do you even understand that when the waiter says the meal of the day is this, do you even know what he's about to say? He's going to say something in Spanish and Italian, and you're not going to know what he just said. And you're telling me you want to go there. You need to behave. All you need to do, yeah, is you need to sort out finishing those exams you got, yeah? You need to work out what your next phase of life looks like and how your finances gets incorporated into that. And then we take it from there. Right now, we should be grateful for holding hands and getting an ice cream from over there. How about that? How about that?
Keep it simple, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How about we just relax, we behave? Do you get what I'm saying? Some of you lot are still learning to cook at this age. Some of you lot weren't patterned earlier on in life. So let's just get that bit right first, yeah? So to answer Jonas's question, yeah, because I've got a lot of time for Jonas. To answer Jonas's question, your ambition is fantastic. And hopefully you're going to find someone who matches your ambition.
Yeah.
Ambition is a forward-looking thing. So the expectations of today need to be somewhat, you know what I mean? Like not reserved effectively. Yeah, like the expectations of today need to be humble and need to be reserved. The fact of the matter is, if you go about doing all of these things that you supposedly want right now, what left there is there in life for you? It's nice to be able to work towards something. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Also, and unpopular opinion, because I've said this in many times when I've been working with young people and talking to them about various different things, finances included, I will often question to them as well, like, why do you want those particular brands? Like, because the funny thing is, most of you will want those brands and will pay full whack for it. But if your friend started a clothing line today, you're asking for discount. So hold on a second. You're willing to put £500 in the pocket of a brand that if someone gets stabbed in your community, that brand is not coming to do nothing for you. That brand's not coming and saying, oh, do you know what, man? You've spent with us for so many years. Let's create a fund to support the issue. Do you think that brand cares? Whereas at least if you help your friend get rich, there's a way of saying, do you know what? Can you take 5% of your profits and support some stuff in our community? Do you get what I mean? So you don't need to start asking yourself, why are you supporting all these brands for? And some young people say, oh, but it's not their responsibility to do that. Yeah, it's not, but it's your responsibility to think how you spend your money. So we got to stop saying whose responsibility it's not and asking whose responsibility is it? You know what I mean?
And to be smart with it as well. So like, if like your friend is starting their own brand and you invest in them, be smart with it and say, do you know what? I'm actually going to start putting, instead of spending £100 on these trainers, I'm going to put £100 into you. But next time you sell something, I want 5% or something. because I'm helping you to grow. So then you start being smart with it. You start building business with your friends instead of building up Nike. Nike's already blessed. They don't need you. They don't need your help no more. These guys, their families are gonna be rich for time. Like help someone else out, and then as it wasn't meant to go to a race thing, but help some people in your community as well. As much as you can do, bring them up as well. I don't want to. Last time we did this podcast, as always, it went on for like 2 hours and a bit, and I don't want people. I don't want to go 2 hours and a bit, but we're not rounding off yet. But I'm just trying to get through the questions that have come through, and this is a good one, especially for myself and Atto and Caroline. The question was, how do you suggest financial planning for a wedding?
Boy.
I'm in the middle of that, I'm in the middle of that. I mean, some people on the panel have already done it. Right. It's a hard answer because I haven't done it. Well, I can tell you what we've done so far. So what we've actually started to look at, the most important thing for us is the venue, right? That's the most important because we have big families. Our parents are going to want to invite a certain amount. We also have a budget. We already set a budget between us. We know that our parents will chip in, but just ours, because at the same time, we don't want to rely on our parents. So we've given ourselves a budget and we're just looking for venues within that budget. I haven't done anything else, but we know it's probably going to be 30, 40 grand in that region. Right. Look, I'm being real with you, bro. Listen. Look, it's hard for me to say that, but look.
Mike's gonna remortgage his house.
You know what? That is the average wedding cost is around 30, 35 grand in the UK right now. I don't mean this as a plug, but I'm literally releasing a video this week on my YouTube channel about planning for weddings, because we were able to stick to our budget and we had, not a plug, we had 200 people at our wedding, and we were told we would spend in the region of £30,000 for the type of wedding we wanted. We were able to keep it under 20 grand, and we had the best day, like the best day. And so I'm like, okay, if you want to spend 30 to 40 grand, you can, but there are plenty of ways that you can cut back on your costs. A big thing for us was choosing a venue that allowed us to have outside caterers. We got very professional Caribbean caterers, but we were able to kind of negotiate a price with them. When you use the venue, they charge you way more. We brought in all our alcohol. We drove to France and bought all of our alcohol. So if you buy with Majestic Wine or something, they will pay for your Eurotunnel ticket to go over there if you spend over £200. So we bought taking notes. Honestly, no, it's seriously. And so that's a big thing that saved us money. In terms of wedding dress, I knew I wanted a Pronovius wedding dress. It's a designer, it's not cheap, but I went to a boutique instead that sold like last season's wedding dresses. I don't care about last season. Who could tell on my wedding day whether I was wearing last season's or not? But I've got a really ridiculous, I can see you, Mike. Like, you need to listen. Honestly, there were so many things. For our cocktail hour, we decided to make a huge barrel of rum punch, which saved us a lot more money than like getting different bottles of things. And everyone was happy. Let's have rum punch, let's have fruit punch, or let's have whatever they wanted. There's just so many ways that you can cut back, and you can still have a beautiful day. We still have fireworks at the end of the night. Like, you can choose things. We didn't use a wedding car. We used my husband's cousin's car as our wedding car. So instead of paying £400 or £500 for that, they had a brand new Mercedes convertible. There's just so many ways that you can cut down. Like 30 to 40 grand is a lot of money. And so if you message me if you want more tips. I'm happy to help.
I'm so glad you guys have said these big prices, because I think you thought that it was going to be cheap.
Hey, the way I like to plan and everything like that, yeah. The way I saw like my future, I was like, okay, so this, I'm gonna buy another property. I'm gonna do this at this age. I'm gonna do this, all this kind of thing. And then I was like, yeah, wedding, why not? It's not gonna cost that much money anyway. I said, hey, don't BBC do that string 10K for they give you for a wedding? I can do that 10K. I can easy. Okay, that's fine. And then when she sent me prices of stuff, I'm like, Chai, my chest. What's going on? I need to about to move things back a little bit. But yeah, it's good. It's good to have tips, and like we were saying, yeah, definitely plug your stuff, man. Like if you've got a video coming out, definitely plug it. This is the platform for it as well. So okay, Daniela, you've been through it.
Yeah. Hearing 30 to 40 grand just made me feel weak, to be honest. We spent under 20 grand. Well, between the two of us, we probably spent about 10 grand, but then we had friends that brought stuff for us, which was really useful. So somebody paid for our car, my friend's mom and my mom together bought my dress, my dad paid for our honeymoon. So nobody came and said, here's 10 grand. But when we add up all of the different things, my other friend paid for the flowers. So we had a good circle of people around us, which meant we didn't have to spend the whole 20 grand. But also when I looked...
This is join your circle of friends.
No, I've got a good support system. But when I look back, like even when I look at the pictures, when I watch the videos, I'm just like, we spent all of that money to feed these people that I haven't seen or spoken to for about 5 years. What was the point of that? And actually, no, seriously, my thing was I wanted to elope. I wanted to go to Jamaica and get married in my friend's garden. She's got a beautiful back garden. To me, that we pay for the flights, we also get a holiday. Like, it's a win-win situation. My husband didn't want to do that. He was saying his family from Nigeria is not going to be able to make it. Turns out they didn't get their visas anyway. And were then saying to me, why didn't you just get married in Jamaica? We would have got the visas for that. And I'm like, that would have saved us at least 15 grand, I'm sure. So the point I'm trying to make is weddings are very expensive, but I think that you really need to sit down and work out. And I'm not saying this to you, Ato, I'm saying this generally. Really sit and work out, is it really that essential to spend thousands and thousands of pounds for people that are not going to give you thousands and thousands of pounds back?
And it's one day, guys. I just keep saying this. It's one day that goes by in a blink of an eye. I'm not going to lie. It goes by really quick.
Yeah.
One day.
And in the situations where, because I've been to some big Indian weddings, some big Nigerian weddings, and they spend thousands and thousands, but actually they get thousands and thousands back and can buy houses and all of that stuff. In that situation, do you in it, because you're going to get it back. But when you're outlaying and paying all that money, but you don't have a house to live in, you don't have any kind of investments, you haven't got a saving pot for your future kids, you have to really think about, is it worth it for less than 12 hours?
Yeah,
that's my opinion anyway.
Like when we were planning our wedding, one of the things that we did was kind of calculating how much would we be willing to pay from both our sides, because with weddings you could end up spending 100k if you had it. It's very, very easy. And once you mention wedding, just know they're adding zeros on. So you definitely have to like start thinking about what can we afford to pay, because I've seen people taking out loans to pay for their wedding and they're still paying back for the wedding 5 years ago. Like you don't want to be like getting yourself into unnecessary debt. So I definitely say like seeing how much you're both willing to, because honestly you can fit a beautiful wedding within your budget, but the problem is sometimes you're looking at these venues that are out of your range and then you end up spending more. Like for our wedding, we probably spent like 13,000 if that, and that was like including our honeymoon. Our honeymoon was about 4,000. But I was like and another thing is network with people, like our photographer was like my husband's friend that did it, so we got a good rate with that. My decorations, my mom knew the person, so like really utilize people that obviously reliable people. They're going to show up and they're going to be professional, but honestly utilize your network. That can really help you to save so much. And be strict with your budget. Anyone that's coming to tell you, oh, you should do this, if they're not bringing the money forward, you don't listen to that opinion. Like one thing, because there's people telling us, oh, you guys need to have this, and then I'm like, oh, are you going to be no? All right, then.
Everyone's got an opinion.
The parents, the aunties, the cousins that want to invite friends. Yes. If you're paying for them, then
that's
by all means,
yes, everyone can come.
The money, then they're not coming. I was very strict with that.
And I know that some people didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be paying money for people I don't care for. Like, no. At the end of and also like really be strict with your guest list. I know sometimes like if you're Nigerian or from certain countries, your mom wants to invite all her friends and Ashobi and all of that stuff. But honestly, you have to do what you can afford. And even having that conversation with your parents, especially if they're not chipping forward, it's like, Mom, this is how much this thing is. And showing people so they can really see like, this is what this is costing. Like if you're not able to help, then I'm sorry,
I can't lie. on the because we're doing a bit different. The plan is to do registry and traditional this year, and then next year, because of COVID and everything like that, that's when we do the big wedding. So like this year, just registry and stuff. But I've already said, like, when it comes to the big wedding, I want bouncers. So like, if you haven't got an invite, we doing it. I don't know you. What's going on?
Yeah, we had that.
Well, no, Auntie so and so invited us. Boy,
You know what's funny?
You better call her.
Someone's gonna be there with their long hand getting food as well. You know, they're gonna be. They weren't invited, but they're long hand. They're gonna. Yes, Mike. Yes, Caroline. Congratulations. And
Sometimes I don't even know your name. Imagine
the free bar. You know the hour you make the bar free and that. They're there. I don't want to hear it. No, but you know what's funny about the point on sides of family, because it's interesting, because at first when me and my girlfriend started obviously seeing each other, and then I was quite early on, like, yo, I can see myself actually building a life with you, and it was like, yeah, you know what, wedding and that. She was like, oh, I always wanted a small wedding. In my head, I was like, yeah, you haven't been to a family get together yet, because my St. Lucian side, you go like that, 300 people in a room. Do you get what I'm saying? So I was like, how do we navigate that one? Do you get what I'm saying? But fortunately, my mum's on smoke. My mum, even to certain family get-togethers, listen, the hall can only hold 150. So do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. So fortunately, I think I've already got that in my life. But then I'm the sucker. I'm the one that's like, no, but you know, cousin so-and-so, they go, I ain't seen them in a while, man. Make them come through. Do you get what I'm saying? You got money for them? Oh, sorry, I say that. Do you get what I mean? So, yeah.
I think we're definitely going to use COVID as our excuse. To be honest, it's the best.
Milk it. If I had COVID, listen, I would have happily had 10 people at my wedding.
Yes,
honestly, utilize it. Like, you have the big, everyone understands it hurts, but you know how much money you'll be saving. You can invest that into your future. If I had COVID, I wouldn't postpone my wedding. I would get married happily, and you can watch it on Zoom. And I'll save that money. Save
40K.
Yes. Hello.
And then when my investments build up and I buy the big yard, I'll bring you lot around for a dinner that day. But it's still a bring a dish thing. Don't get it twisted. It's just that you're coming to see how nice my house is now, because I made a good investment, because I didn't invite you lot to the wedding. But I'll still bring a dish and bring a bottle. How about that?
I like that, actually. It's true. But hey, Atto, if you still want to have that wedding that size,
I don't. I don't. You know what? I think it was my other half that actually asked that question, which is quite ironic. I don't know if she's trying to test me. I was gonna ask, like, back up, because to the people that have been married, did you feel like any pressure? Like, because it sounds like obviously you had small weddings under budget, which is like a real inspiration for us. But like, do you feel like you had any sort of pressure in terms of trying to have this big bang wedding? Because I feel like from a man's point of view, honestly, I don't care. Like, I can have a small wedding. For me, like, other guys are not going to be like, oh, bro, they'll be like, oh, the wedding's good, but it's not about me, right? But from a woman's perspective, I feel like it's like, oh, your dress, you've got this, you've got that. So did you feel like any sort of pressure, like, when it was coming up to your wedding, to maybe try and maybe splash out a bit, or did you just like trying that out?
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you can still have a really nice wedding on a smaller budget. So I think a lot of times people think if you're spending a bit less, it's not going to be a good wedding. When I spoke to people afterwards and said how much I spent on my wedding, they didn't believe me. They thought we spent way more than we spent. It's just about being smart. So, having certain aspects of your day that gives that wow factor, but cutting back on other parts of your day where people may not even notice. So as I said, that wedding car, no one noticed, but we used his cousin's car and it still looked really nice. Like, we saved ourselves £500. But having the fireworks and having these amazing caterers, people noticed that with the wedding. I'm trying to get Alicia Keys. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. I watched the previous video, and you and Alicia Keys, I mean, she is underrated. I agree. She's underrated. But I think there is pressure. Don't get me wrong. There is pressure. But, at the end of the day, it's just not worth spending an extra 4 or 5 grand for pressure. You can still have a beautiful day. And I promise you, everyone on the day is not even going to care, because there's just going to be so much joy in the air that people don't even realize. They're just like, oh, it's just such a beautiful day. It's nice. I've been to some really small budget weddings, and they have been some of the most beautiful weddings. So I don't know. I just don't think you should succumb to pressure. Like, it can still be a nice day on a smaller budget.
I mean, we haven't completed our process, but pressure's coming from my side of the family in terms of the traditional side of things, because I'm from a Congolese background, so they are very, very big on bride price, and it's not small. It's not small. So there's already been a lot of like back and forth of, you know, you can't make somebody pay this because you're not even willing to put in enough for the actual white wedding. So why you're basically taking from us before
Can
we
you
even
explain
start.
Can you explain the bride price a bit to me? So I just don't know. I know of it, but I don't know how it fully works.
So the bride price is basically a symbol of respect, a symbol of like, you know, we've come to ask for your family's hand in marriage, like just basically give us your child. And it's like, okay, we know you're going to look after her, you're going to provide, and you also are in gratitude of all of the things we've done for the female in terms of raising her. So anyway, the parent will write a list of things being gifts and then a set amount that they need to give. Mine's different because I know we found out that with Nigerians, they do the act of giving it, but they give it right back. Mine, they're like, thank you, bye-bye. See y'all later. But yeah, that's basically our one.
So I was under pressure because at the time, my business that I was running was an event management company. So how are you going to run an event management company and not have the wedding of all weddings? So that was pressure that I was taking on myself, which is also why I just wanted to go to Jamaica, because I'm like, then I don't have to deal with any of that. But because of the fact that I was in event management, so I think, DeAndre, you mentioned this before about using your network, I was able to do the same thing. So there was people that had performed for me that were singing in the church who had sang at my events. So stuff like that. The lady that did all my cakes for my events, she did the wedding cake and gave me a really good price. So I was able to kind of offset, still do the wedding justice as an event coordinator without spending excessive amounts. Although my husband did start to get chest pains and we thought he was going to have a heart attack probably about 6 weeks leading up to the event. So I don't know if he would agree. So, but also he is Nigerian. So the Nigerian side of the family. So they didn't pay my bride price. I was quite offended by that because that was one of the main reasons I wanted to marry him, because obviously the big Nigerian wedding, they spray the money. I didn't get any of that. But the fact that I didn't get any of that was because we didn't invite his 15,000 strong random family that's not really family. So it balanced out.
No, I think that bride price thing, it's a funny one, but to be honest with you, I'm gonna take advantage of it because the way the tradition is meant to be is, if I've paid bride price, then they've got to organize the traditional wedding. So the things that I'm gonna ask for, it's gonna be mad. I want to come in on a pony, like them kind of things. Like, that's what I'm asking for, some madness if I have to pay that amount. Or what, you can't do that. All right, let's meet in the middle then. You bring the bride price down, I'll bring some of my craziness down, and then we can meet in the middle, I think. But I think it's gonna be an interesting conversation. We're using COVID as our excuse, and I hope none of our family. I didn't think I said it to anyone of your family. I hope no one's watching. But it would be a sticky one. I think Atto, I think it was your fiance that asked you. She said she wasn't testing you; she was just trying to get tips. I think I got another question here. It's Jonas again. Jonas is, I don't know if he's preying a girl or something, but he wants to know what is the max amount you should spend on a date?
He's 19 though, right?
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. Spend what you can afford.
Yeah, I was going to say spend what you can afford.
Spend what you can afford, but sometimes you like numbers. I would say at 19 years old, don't spend more than £60 on a date is what I would say. And I'm talking about if it's a girl you really like at 19, to spend £60, it needs to be someone that you think, yeah, she's deserving of this. She seems like a nice girl. She's going to be grateful that I'm spending my hard-earned money or my pocket money or whatever it is. I'm spending my money. She's going to be grateful. I don't think you should spend. I'm not spending 60 now.
2 weeks of EMA or 2 months. That's a lot.
No.
Yeah.
But some of them, but at 19, some of them got like apprenticeships. And,
Yeah,
I mean, so
Hey, I can
yeah.
take. You can go Miller and Carter. You get a nice steak meal, £40.
Yeah, but £60 is both of you for both.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 60
That's
pounds.
what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing.
No, I get where DeAndre's coming from because because he might like if he's really feeling or like I don't know because he didn't say first date, so we're looking at it like date in general. I'm assuming that's what you mean, right, DeAndre? Yeah, it's
yeah,
like date
exactly.
overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. So because it's not necessarily date, first date, the 60 is like they might have gone on a couple of dates, and now it's like you might even just say get a 3 courses. Maybe she's got a nice appetite.
Yeah,
Get 3
exactly.
courses. Or if you're not gonna eat all of it, bring it home. Do you get what I'm saying? Think about me in the morning when you eat this for breakfast. Do you get what I'm saying?
You know what I'm thinking though?
That's smooth. That's smooth.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking 19.
I still got it.
I'm thinking at 19, yeah. If you set the bar at 50, the next time you go out for a meal, what are you doing? Oh no, we need to go back down to £20 again. No, I can't afford to keep doing like if it's something serious, that means you're continuously dating or whatever like that. And actually going out somewhere might be your only source of actually seeing each other. Because if you're still living at home, your parents might not agree that the other person come over, whatever it's gonna maybe. I think you should I think the first answer was the correct one in my eyes anyway. Basically stay in your lane. So if you can't afford to pay £60 every week to go out somewhere, don't start with £60.
I didn't mean every week. I meant on a special date. I meant
okay.
like I'm taking you out tonight. I'm gonna make you feel special. On that type of date, I think £60 at 19. I do not mean on a weekly basis. That's outrageous. No way.
And plus,
No way.
DeAndre might have meant you've gone for the meal and that was £40, but then you're walking down the embankment holding hands. You saw one of them man there selling like waffles and things. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you got that as well. By the time you add that, then you might have gone and got, I don't know, some fancy juice that you saw. Do you get what I mean? Like by this point now, you spent £60. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah.
All right, cool. Just rounding up a little bit now, yeah. And I think we've touched on this already. But is it important that you and your partner's financial goals align? Is it important? Yes or no? I think everyone's gonna say yes, but then explain why it's important.
This is an interesting question because what do we mean by align? Because they might not be identical. Do you get what I'm saying? So
not identical, and so
okay.
I don't want to say too much and then give the answer. Like so, it doesn't have to be identical, but they need to align.
Yeah. Okay. So
your paths are going in the same direction almost.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Let me let someone else go first, but yeah, I agree.
I mean, if I'm thinking about it, it would be like, well, I can't buy 4 wigs anymore. I need to reduce it because we've both got a goal that we need to do. So, for example, like getting another property, I can't spend so much on what other things I would have used to have done. It goes back to the other, I think someone else was saying it before, you have to look at somebody else's actions and what they aspire to do as well in a relationship. So I think that's where it aligns, like what sacrifices, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but what sacrifices am I willing to make so that we can come together?
Yeah, I think it's really important. And I can think of, in my life, my husband and I are now on this financial independence, retire early journey. We're fully involved, but I'm the one who found it at first and had to kind of bring him into it to be like, hey, look, I found this. I'm really digging it. I've done so much research. It's not even funny. This is what we would need to do. Because he's a saver, because he already has that mindset that he wants us to always have a good cushion, we kind of align in that way. He was fully on board to come on with this movement. He was like, yeah, we need to build our future. We need to heavily invest. He was fully on board with it. And I'm in a financial independence UK group on Facebook, and the amount of people that ask for advice in that group because they're in a relationship with someone who doesn't believe in investing. They think it's a hoax. And they've been married for years, and I know it sounds funny, but they just think, no, I'm not investing. I'm going to save my money and keep it. I don't want to lose it. And I think, my God, how do you handle a situation when you are so passionate about investing and securing your future, but you're married to someone who completely doesn't believe in it. You know, I can't imagine what that's like. So I think it is important to have some alignment, because now these people are living almost separate lives in the same household. Like they handle their money differently. They're kind of starting to hide things from each other, and eventually it could end to, you know, the relationship falling apart. But yeah, I think it's so important to be aligned, and not in every area, but at least heading in the same direction, as you said. You know, not one person who's happy to gamble and, you know, have 50 lottery tickets each week, and the other person's like, no, I want to save and invest my money. That's just not going to work.
Until one of those lottery tickets gets you 3 billion or something. That's the only time that would be a bit different. You'd be like, I've been investing all this time, you got all this money come back. But no, yeah. Other than that, because that's unlikely that that's going to happen. Yeah. I think it is. I think you're correct. But with my thing is, I think you have to align in terms of what the goal that you want together. So the goal that I want together will involve, okay, what we're trying to build in terms of our family. So, okay, let's say we're thinking about a future. I'm thinking, okay, when we have kids, I want the kids to either go to this school, this kind of school, this kind of school, this kind of school. If it's like a public school, you want to be in a certain area or whatever, if you want it to be a private school, you got to start building from now. So that side of it needs to be aligned. The side that I don't think it needs to be aligned, which it took me a while to kind of get round to this as well, especially when we first started seeing each other, was I want to have my own businesses. I don't want to work for someone else. That kind of thing. That's my kind of my personal ambitions. You don't need to have those same personal ambitions. The only thing that we need to make sure is that we're not stopping each other from reaching our own personal goals, and we're not messing each other's chances up of reaching our goals that we've got together as well. So,
but how does that work if, for example, so I know this doesn't apply to me, but it applies to somebody that I know. One of them was in work, the other one wanted to run, like they wanted to be an entrepreneur. They've been trying to be an entrepreneur for like a couple of years, weren't generating enough money, and she ended up pretty much carrying the load. And her thing was she wanted him to get a job because you're not making enough money. His thing was, this is my dream, I want to do this, you should just leave me alone to do it. What would you say? How do you resolve that situation?
I think that one's a bit hard because the conversation should have been happening way earlier than that. So when you're starting the conversation and you're talking about your goals and talking about the future, it's like, look, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Do you know what? Do you? I think you should chase your dreams. I don't want to stunt you. I don't want to stunt you from chasing your dreams or stop you or anything. Because when we have kids, I don't want to tell them don't chase your dreams. So you should go for it. However, there's a limit. In 3-4 years' time, 3 to 5 years' time, whatever your limit's going to be, if you haven't made this work, it's not going to work. Like you need to have a backup. So that's something. The conversation should have happened a lot earlier, because I think it's hard now because the person's accepted them trying to do that for the last 3-4 years. Now you to turn around and go, oh, come on, what are you doing? It's like, well, you knew this is what I wanted to do. You should have had it. Yeah, it's hard. That was a hard one.
But then I would hope that guy in that situation has enough maturity to appreciate that. Do you know what? They're not saying this from a place of disrespect, and they're not saying from even a place of I don't believe in you, but from a place of listen, we actually can't ignore reality. Reality is right now, this is challenging for me because I'm currently fronting the load for 2 and it's not easy. So I'm not saying you have to go and get a job and forget your dreams. What I'm saying is even pick up a part-time thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like go and pick up something just to be able to support what's going on. So if he is then resistant to that, that's unfortunately just a lack of maturity on his side, because this person has effectively invested in you. That's what they've done. They've effectively invested, even though they might not have invested in your business, they've actually invested in you because they fronted your load so it's actually just a level of respect to say, you know what, let me acknowledge what this person's done for me for the last 2, 3, however long it is, and then go, do you know what, they're right, let me go and do this, because it's the truth, isn't it? If it's not working right now, that's not to say it's not going to work. It's just to say, you know what, right now we have to just deal with reality, and reality is this. So I would hope that they can be mature in that situation.
100%, 100%. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, I was going to just say that, you know, like just tagging on what Lewis was saying, you know, that person sacrificed 2 years for you effectively. So you should be able to, and it's always hard because everybody wants to, most people want to become entrepreneurs, and it's really, really difficult to get back into the mindset of working for somebody else. But you should just see it as like a stopgap, as a part to just build yourself back up, you know, foot the finances, because at the end of the day, you have to take care of home, right? It's not about like, okay, yeah, I want to really, it's not about your own ego at the end of the day. You have to put that aside. You have to provide, right? That's the first thing. You and your family need to be good. Sort that out, and then everything else is secondary. Of course, we've got our own personal goals, but the most important is your life, which is your relationship. So that's the most important first, and everything else comes next. That's how you should see it. That person sacrificed for you, sacrifice for them, get your job over the ego, and then go back and hit it the second time, and maybe you'll be successful. I don't know, but that's how you should see it anyway, in my opinion.
Definitely agree. It's about sacrifices.
Definitely. Okay, which leads us on to the last kind of question. Do you guys think we're still in an age where some men, or a lot of men, majority of men, let's say, feel a bit emasculated if their woman makes more money than them? Why are you laughing like that?
Yes, I had this conversation on Friday. Yes. Guys are, I'm not, but a lot. Okay, you know what? It's the limit, right? So I'm saying I'm not now, but let's say, again, I need to be put in that situation. I would say I'm not, but let's say like she was making 20 times what I was making, right? Then,
20 times, yeah, that's like different though, yeah.
No, but let's be real. Some people could be in that situation, right? Let's say that happens, is rare, right? Then me as a man and competitive as well. Again, I don't want to say anything out of pocket because I feel like I believe in, you know, the whole equality and stuff like that. But if you feel like you can't even provide, or you feel like you can't, you know, provide a certain lifestyle, you may feel resentful. I can definitely see that happening from a male point of view. And is that something that's nothing but just me? That's just my personal problem. It's not the other person. I want to, you know, highlight that. So yeah, I don't think there's a problem per se, but I think it can definitely happen. And I'll see a lot of males like, yeah, they won't be on it. They won't be on that.
What about on if we lower the scale a little bit? Say like your partner, your missus was making like 50K more than you, 100K more than you. It might be more realistic than the 20 times. I think 20 times, that means you've got to be in the millions.
You know what? Yeah, the type of person I am, I wouldn't be bothered, but I know I'd work harder. That would make me work harder.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. I'm like, oh, rah, she's doing well. Okay, that's good. I need to pull up my socks and work harder. But I wouldn't see it as a quote unquote problem. But where it could be a problem is because it depends. If it's just normal and your relationship's normal, it's fine. But if it's like they're using it against you, then yeah, of course you're gonna start feeling some type of way, because that does happen, right? I call it financial. It's not being financially vulnerable. It's like financially abused. That can happen. That can happen. So it really depends. If they start berating you, belittling, oh, you can't even afford this. Oh, you're supposed to be. No, if them conversations happen, you're gonna start feeling like, rah, like, oh my God, I feel like nothing, right? So sometimes you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So you just gotta I need to step up my game. I need to work harder. So yeah, that's what I think anyway.
But I think as well, sometimes it's not necessarily even about the person. It's also about the people around.
Yeah.
So right now, my husband earns more than me. However, based on what I do, I believe that within a year or so, that probably will change. Does he have a problem with that? At this point, no. We've spoken about it extensively because we can see the direction that my business is going in. So he can see that it's a possibility as well. What I know will become a problem, though, is his boys, because of what they think and the things that they will say. Do I think that's going to have an impact on him and he's going to treat me differently? No, but I know that it will become a thing where his boys are going to say so. Even the fact that my business is called She's the Boss, there's people within his circle that find that funny, like she's the boss, so then what does that make you type thing. So I think sometimes I think the issue isn't always the person, and I would like to believe that my husband is strong enough in himself that it's not going to be a problem. But if he wasn't, I can see how the people around who have these kind of chauvinistic views that a woman's not supposed to be earning more, and really the woman shouldn't be outshining you, so to speak. I can see how that could cause pressure in a relationship.
100%. It's like Lewis put in the group that those are the small boys there. Well, actually, I don't want to say that 'cause I don't know your husband's friends. But, but I feel like that, yeah, that mentality that needs to kind of go. I already said to Caroline, I said, hey, if you start making silly money, I'm quitting my job. Like I said, I'm out. Like, that's it. Quitting my job. I'm still working my business. I'm going to chill. And maybe you got the mortgage this month. Now you got that. You got that. You handle that. I don't see it. Yeah, for me, that's not a thing where I'm gonna be like, oh no, my ego, it's so hurt. I can't believe you're doing this.
I think it, you know, times are slowly changing. In my company, quite a few of the women that I work with have house husbands, which I mean, kind of like, wow, for me when I first came into it, but you know, their husbands can afford to stay home and look after the kids. And so, you know, this, yeah, it was a bit of a hard thing for me at first. I was like, really, your husband stays home and looks after the kids? Like, he doesn't work? But, you know, it depends on your environment, as you said, Daniela, it depends on your environment. So, you know, that's now the norm within our office. We know that there's a few women whose husbands are house husbands and they stay home and look after the kids. So at first I came in, it was weird, but now it's less weird because it's just the environment that I'm in. So depending on, you know, who you're around and the types of conversations you're having, that can change. But yeah, I feel like the fact that, you know, there's multiple people in my company where that's the case speaks volumes to me, and they're older than me. So, you know, it's not even like the younger generation, they're a bit older and they're adapting these mindsets. So I personally think things are changing slowly. There are some men who just find it absolutely unacceptable. They won't be with someone who earns more than them. But for me, it's kind of like, what happens if you fall in love with someone, you get married, and then at some point the scale tips? What, you're going to be like, this can't work anymore because you make more than me? It just seems a bit silly. So I just think you have to be open to, you know, a bit more of a balance. Maybe she will make more than you one day, maybe she'll make less than you, but regardless, still the same marriage. So
but this is such a good point, you know, Deandra, because I don't know if this actually exists, I want to say anymore, whether it did, you know, heavily before, but, you know, some people believe heavily that once you get married, two becomes one, therefore meaning it's not your salary, my salary, it's our salary. So regardless of what we each make, it's all coming together anyway. Everything's gonna come from one pot anyway. So I just wonder whether there is a question to be had about, if that was your belief system, does it really matter who earns more? Because we're bringing it together regardless. And then effectively money is a vehicle to which we are then going to do other things. So the fact of the matter is, we might then use the money we have put into the pot to then go and do some things that we're going to collectively decide upon. And it might be that actually you don't look at it as equal giving, but equal sacrifice. So the equal giving, you might have seen it as, well, I put in 50K this year, you put in 70K this year. So actually you should have more say. But is that the case? Do you get what I'm saying? Actually, if we both just were working 40 hours a week, then whatever. Do you get what I'm saying? But then on the flip side, it's interesting because those women may have house husbands. Those women might be terrible at investing, but fantastic at being in a job that earns them an amazing salary. Their husband could be at home doing the maddest investments. Is he not adding value to the household? He might actually be the one saying, no, bring the salary back. I'm going to show you how we're going to multiply those funds. You can only add because you can only go to work and come back. So you can add, but I can multiply. So let me show. So maybe that, do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting one. But I think to answer the original question, I think that if the man feels demasculated, then actually that's just driven by ego. Let's just be honest. That's the fact of the matter. It is driven by ego, innit? That's the truth of the matter. I genuinely believe, and again, I don't want to sound theoretical, but I genuinely believe that if your woman is in a situation whereby she is doing something amazing with her career and that's causing her to grow and therefore get the financial remuneration for what she's doing, it means that there's something you can learn from her in terms of well, what am I doing to expand my mind, gain new knowledge, go find new opportunities, network better? And if you both go on that journey together, at some point you're probably going to end up matching it anyway. It's inevitable that someone you spend that much time with is going to continuously be ahead of you. It's just an opportunity, as Atto said, for you to be more motivated and go, well, what things can I be doing to open doors for myself? Do you know what I'm saying? But also, let's not forget, we use the word earn. That sounds like it comes just from employment. That man could be earning less in his employment, but then have wavy other investments. We don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's where I was gonna kind of go with it as well. And I think there should be like the man and the woman obviously should have their roles to play in it. And like I was saying, if Caroline was making more than me, I would quit my job. But it's not because I wanted to be a house husband. Let's not get it twisted. It's not that. But it's like I was saying to her, I said, at the moment, obviously before we get married, the house and the mortgage and everything, the bills, it falls on myself because it's under my name. So in the place that I'm in now, I've got my job because it's secure, easy, 9 to 5. I've got my businesses making me extra money and blah, blah, blah. But then if I didn't have to take on the mortgage myself and it's just under my name and we're together and it's under both of our names, then I'm like, okay, you know what? We're helping each other out now. So I can quit my job now and actually focus on growing this business. So I think that, like I said, it is good if at times that someone's making more and someone's not making more. As long as you like we were saying before with Daniela's friend, you guys have that talk beforehand. So you're like, okay, you know what? As soon as this happens, okay, I see you going for this job. If you get that job, I'm out of my job. I can't lie. I'm done. Like I'm waiting for this to happen. By the way, that's why I keep dropping the seed
every day, guys.
But we've already had that conversation because she knows. She already said you couldn't be a house husband. You the way you move, the way your mind is, you couldn't sit still. So I know that. But like I said, I'll be able to put it into the business. And I can see people who can feel emasculated by it. But I do think it depends on how you carry yourself as well. So like for me, if that happened and my boys wanted to take the mick, I don't know, because sometimes I can be a dick. I'll finish the guy because I'll be like, what are you doing? What are you doing there? What are you actually doing with your life? But like, if he was being nice about it, then you just be like, I don't know. I feel like it depends on how secure you are. Because I'm secure in myself. If they took the mick, I'll be like, bad up, boys, bad up. But I wouldn't take it on. It'd just be like, we're banning him because we take the mick out of each other anyway.
But the thing is, if he's got that much energy to be giving you about the fact that your girl earns more than you, he must have that much energy for other parts of his life that he needs to pattern. So my thing is like, don't bring that to me, bro. Go and pattern that debt that you need to clear, fam. Yeah. Go. In fact, furthermore, go and find yourself a missus you're faithful to, blood. Right now, you're still doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear it, fam. Go and be faithful to some. Go and be faithful to one person. How about that? Yeah. Certain men are, fam, allow it, fam. I don't want to hear it, fam. If you're not, are you perfect? Are you perfect? Go over there, man. Do you guys say? But no, but I'm joking. You wouldn't really.
I was trying to be nice.
Obviously, I wouldn't really say that, but I would be thinking to myself, like, you need to keep that same energy that you got for looking external for your internal, bro. Get your house in order, innit? You know what I'm saying? Because right now, if the big bad wolf comes and blows, your thing's dropping. So get your house in order, fam.
Okay.
All right. So round it up. For everyone that's in a relationship, that's married, engaged, soon to be engaged, Lewis, this year. Do you guys have any like little tips or anything that you guys want to drop on the people that are listening? Anyone who's going to watch this back in terms of relationships, in terms of, actually, no, I was about to say in terms of love, but in terms of relationships and finances, anyone got any tips?
I do. I have a few, if you don't mind.
Go on, let me get my notebook.
So the first is to both, like, at the beginning of we've decided to take this seriously part of the relationship, make sure that you understand how you both operate when it comes to finances. So we did premarital counseling before we got married. And I remember in one of the sessions, the lady who was running it with her husband said she's not allowed to buy anything unless he approves it. And he's not allowed to buy anything unless she approves it. So I said, well, what happens if you were in town and you saw some really cool shoes that were on sale, like 70% off, and he didn't answer his phone? And she said, well, I just wouldn't buy it, which for me blew my mind because I'm buying the shoes. That's ridiculous. But me and my husband both agree that this is how we are going to operate. And that works for us. So we know that if it gets beyond a specific amount, so maybe like around 150, then we have to discuss it. But if it's less than that, do whatever you want to do in it. So be very clear on how you both want to operate when it comes to finances. The same thing, like how do you view debt? Because if one of you is fine with debt and wants to get loads of credit cards, but the other one isn't, that's going to cause a problem. So make sure that you're both on the same page at the beginning and discuss how you're going to do that. And make sure that you both understand what each other's financial goals are. So my husband is a saver. So because he's a saver, then now I'm a saver because he can't be saving and I'm not participating in that saving kind of process. I also understand that he's a bit of a shopaholic. I'm not, but as I said before, I then rein him in to stop him buying all and sundry when he feels like it. You both need to understand your viewpoints and how you operate and what you do, what is and is not acceptable. A key thing as well, this is the last point, sorry. If you do think you're going to get married, if you do think you're going to spend the rest of your life with your significant other and you want children, please, 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 please open a savings account. And I'm asking all of you to do this, a savings account for maternity. Maternity time is when a lot of people run into problems because the wife can't work because she's looking after the baby. And I've heard some wild stories of men saying, well, how are you contributing to the household when the wife is on maternity leave? Did I just push a baby out of myself? What do you mean? That's how I'm contributing. So make sure you're both on the same page, but make sure you got a savings account and put money down every month so that when the time comes, you've got something to sustain so that I'm not sitting at home with a baby going through postnatal depression and wanting to stab you in the eye because you're telling me that I need to go and earn some money. So that's my tips.
That's wild about that maternity leave. Man, that's ridiculous. My tip would be, I'm just going to give one, and I would say to budget together. So I'm a huge advocate of budgeting. If people don't like the word budgeting, make it the conscious spending plan. Whatever fancy lingo you want to say to make it feel sexier is cool, but spend some time once a month. So my husband and I have our budget spreadsheet and we just go through just to check everything's looking good. Where's our money going? We know everywhere our money is going together, and it's so important to have togetherness in your finances. So you know what's coming in, you know what's going out, you know what's going where, there's no surprises, you know how much is being saved, you know how much is being invested, whatever it is, you're aware and you're on the same page. And I think it just cuts out any secrets and cuts out any confusion like, oh wait, when did you spend £300 on this? Well, it's not going to happen if you have a budget. So that'd be my biggest tip.
Thank you.
I would say create some early financial habits. So with us, I've been the one that's saying, oh, let's go on holiday. So we've literally had an account open, Michael opened it. And we've been saving for a couple of months now. So that small thing actually is leading to a bigger thing. So I feel comfortable now doing bigger plans like creating a wedding or saving for a house because we started earlier. But yeah.
Definitely. Anyone else got any tips? Anything you want to say?
My tip would be like normalize speaking about money, especially things that you want to do together. Like one of the things that we do is like planning, like, okay, like towards the end of the month, we'll already start planning for the next month and thinking about like, is there any key things that you want to buy? Really just making those decisions together, because then it's like you're both on the same page. You might be like, I want to save X amount, but that person's like, I just want to spend. You're just going to have those unnecessary clashes. So when you normalize having those conversations, like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of doing this. And like similar to what Daniela said, like if it's over a certain amount, then kind of just speaking like, I'm thinking of buying this, then you just discuss it. It's when you don't, and then you see this transaction pop up and it's like, what's going on here? So definitely having those regular conversations and planning together, because when you're doing it together, you're less likely to have these unnecessary issues. And again, if you don't agree on something, like just take some time, take a break and come to a solution about it. Don't just ignore it. That's like the worst thing you can do, but definitely kind of finding some kind of compromise when it comes to making those money decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you have to be transparent and definitely have to be able to compromise a little bit.
I got two that I think hopefully connect. One is like educate yourselves about financial opportunity and options together if possible. So, like sometimes it could be a lack of awareness that one partner or even both of you have about the ways in which you can go about diversifying your financial portfolio or whatever it may be. So try and go on that journey together. And the reason I say that is because also either before doing that or in the process of doing that, it will also uncover financial discomforts that your partner has. So it's very important to be aware of the financial discomforts, which may be driven by those previous financial traumas as well. So I think doing the education together, as well as being able to uncover traumas and discomforts together, is really good in terms of them being able to build from a solid foundation. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I know for me, I didn't necessarily have things that I thought were necessarily issues, but even just the way I might articulate something like, oh yeah, I got a letter from this thing. And it'll be like, whoa, what do you mean? I'll be like, fam, it's not that deep, you know, I don't owe no money. She'll be like, oh, like, do you get what I mean? But I was like, oh, where did that come from? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so it's important for me to know that, don't it? Like, why was that your reaction? Do you get what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Definitely understanding your partner's kind of like how they view money and how they see things as well. I think, Ato, have you got something you want to drop before I...
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, what's worked is communication. Communication's been good. It's not, and when I say communication, I don't mean like it was perfect from the jump, but you just sprinkle little things. Obviously, I don't even say obviously, but I'm more comfortable talking about finances. So I would just like sprinkle little things, leave it, come back to it later. It's like you're planting a seed and you want to do that over time, because communication is not always like simple from the jump. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to go through it, but like, you know, have a bit of patience. And then the next thing I was going to say in terms of communication, you have different stages of your relationship. So obviously we're moving into the stage where we're getting married. So that's a different stage of our life. Like she's going to move in or I'm going to move in. We're basically going to start moving in together. So we have to start discussing that aspect. How does that look? How does that future look? What is our future goals? Because before we were separate, right? We have our 2 salaries, we have our 2 financial goals, but now we're coming together. So that's another conversation. So you have to acknowledge that it's going to keep on advancing. You have to keep on working hard and you're going to have to keep on having these conversations.
100%. I think that leads up to my kind of tip that I wanted to leave. And it's the same as I think what we did 2 weeks ago as well, in terms of like goals and stuff like that I was talking about. A lot of the things that I like to do is like to play the long game. So I think, but because I like to play the long game, I got used to doing that by myself. And I think one of the things that I learned I had to do very quickly was there'll be times when Caroline would ask me a question and I'll be like, yeah, but we're gonna live here in 5 years' time. She's like, well, when did we have that convo? Oh shoot, I didn't even tell you. So basically I had an idea, like, so I already got my 10 to 20 year plan sort of thing of what kind of school my kids would go to and all these kind of things. But because I was so used to doing everything and having that plan by myself, I had to improve my communication so that I bring Caroline into it because she might have a different view or whatever like that. So the tip is kind of like make sure you're communicating, because you might have a certain way of working and doing all that, but also plan long term, proper long term. Like I can't remember who it was that was saying open up a savings account for when you're on maternity, but it's like open up an account as well for when you have kids. So like that was one thing that I saw worked massively with my youngest brother. As soon as he was born, my mum was putting £10, just started off with £10 every month into this account. Every year, she just increased the amount. By the time you go to 18, what, you want to go to university? Here's your money. You've got money to go now. You don't need to get no student loan or nothing like that. But like if he did go to university, at least he'll have that money saved up or whatever. But have that but that requires you to have a long-term plan and understand. So one of the things for myself as well is, I remember before, I always just assumed that Caroline knew this until we have a conversation, but it's like, yeah, I want my kids to go to private school. Because I feel like it might put you on a different level or give you a better go at life or whatever. So in my head, I'm already trying to save money for that from now, even though we haven't got no kids. We haven't even got married yet. No kids on the way, but still to kind of have that. And if you didn't question me a few times and told me that I need to up my communication, then she wouldn't know. So that'll be my tip. Yes, plan in the future, do long term, but also make sure you're communicating with your partner. All right, we're about to go now. So before we go, does everyone want to drop, like, just quickly say what their social medias are and everything? I know I missed that last time, so people can follow you as well. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go.
So if anyone is in the process of trying to grow their business, wants to reduce reliance on them as a founder, wants to make more money in their business in 2021, you can find me on Instagram at She's the Boss UK. I'm also on LinkedIn under the name Daniela Genus, and I'm on Facebook, Daniela Genus, She's the Boss, and Twitter at She's the Boss UK. And also have my new website, www.she'sthebossintl.com, which I'm quite proud of, so please check that out.
Go. Come on. Laura, what's good?
I'll go next. All right, so I'm actually having a live finance training towards the end of the month. So I'm going to be going through things like money management essentials, money mindset as well, and spending habits. So if you're like looking to kind of just get in control of your personal finances, then I'll definitely recommend just heading over to my website, www.pelsandprowls.com. In terms of Instagram, I'm pretty active on there. And my Instagram handle is Your Finance PT, so PT like personal trainer. And what I'm really happy about is that it's really started to stick, and a lot of people now call me that. So yeah. If you need any help with that, or if you have a small business and you're kind of struggling to really find like putting processes in place and actually make money in your business, then definitely give me a shout as well.
Yeah, I don't mind going next. Instagram at Mr. Lewis Howell. So Mr. and then my name that's on screen. You can spell it in that way that you see it. In terms of connecting with me, in terms of the businesses that I run full time. So 7PK, very new to Instagram, 7PK, but that's mainly our Instagram's targeted at young people. So if you're like 14 to 24 and you want to go on and connect on Instagram, 7PK Tribe. So 7, the letter P, the letter K, and then Tribe on Instagram. But a lot of the 7PK content that's targeted at professionals and those working for companies that we tend to work with. Go LinkedIn, you'll find me on LinkedIn under my name. And Revolution Hive is on Instagram as well. So that's Revolution Hive. And also my passion project, which became a business, Success Through Soca. Find that on Instagram. We do Instagram lives Mondays and Fridays. We're using Soca as a vehicle to help people to achieve self-mastery and achieve collective progression for the people from the Caribbean diaspora. And yeah, just trust me, it goes off. It goes off. Mondays, I'm in training mode right here with the whiteboard. We got our last session tomorrow on overcoming fear. Then we're moving into some stuff around personal branding. And Fridays, we have a game show called Saved by Soca, where we take Soca from being a lifestyle, turning it into a lifeline. If that doesn't make sense, I'll see you Friday.
I love the sound of that. I'm going to be checking that out for sure. Success Soca. I think I've seen that somewhere, and
Success Through Soca, trust me. Yeah. Things are happening. It's good stuff, man. I never meant to set up a third business. It happened by accident. I thought it was just going to be Instagram videos. It's literally just one of those things where I was like, this is just going to be an Instagram thing. Then, yeah, anyway, but it is what it is.
So you can find me on YouTube, Finance D, so D as in DEE, Instagram, Finance D, spelled the same way, Twitter, Finance D, website, financed.com. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm just, as I said at the beginning, I'm really just trying to show people you do not need to be you don't need to know a lot in order to get good with your finances. Start where you're at and build up along the way. And so I'm just sharing my journey to financial independence. It's been really rewarding so far. And I just want to normalize talking about money and really want to educate people when it comes to investing. Just start investing. So yeah.
Lovely. We'll go next. So mine is Mummy and Me brushstroke. So Mummy spelled with an O and N instead of and. And on Thursdays, you can catch me at 7 p.m. doing a story time. So if you've got any nieces, nephews, children, they can join us. It's very interactive. And every month we'll be doing a giveaway of all the books. So, yeah.
Wicked. Mr. Saviato.
Yo, what's good? So I'm on YouTube, Savvy Wallet. Instagram, Savvy Wallet as well. I'm not as lucky as Deandra. Twitter, Savvy Wallet 1. Couldn't find Savvy Wallet 1. Yeah, no crap. And on Clubhouse recently, weekly, so we've got different conversations. I'm doing it with another financial content creator, CK. We do it Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and it's around different financial topics. We try to make them very lighthearted. So the one that we're doing on Tuesday is why do people prefer to buy brands and drip over building wealth? So yeah, looking forward to that one. Last week's one went off. That was quite good. That was why is speaking to people about money a taboo? And people love that conversation. So yeah, weekly Clubhouse, 7 p.m. Find me there. Obviously on YouTube as well. Weekly talk about investing mostly on there. Yeah, just trying to make, for me, from my point of view, it's about making finance accessible because it's full of jargon. So that's why I do what I do. I try and make it as accessible as I can. Well, it's mostly for Black people because we weren't taught about it. So that's what I focus on.
Final tip, yeah, have a budget for new devices, because when you want to get on Clubhouse like Lewis and you find out your iPad's too old to get the new iPad, and then you have to do like I did, mainly getting a new iPad just because I so happen to kind of want to get on Clubhouse because I feel like I got a strategy for how to do that. So I'm like, have a budget that you can just buy new devices with, guys. If that's another tip for people. Have a budget just for new devices, yeah, because these companies, they hook us in like that. They don't let your software update. How dare you?
Last thing I'll say as well is it shows how small and how big at the same time the industry is, because CK Clarence, he was on the last live that we did, the last Finesse Your Finance podcast. So I've seen you guys do your thing. I don't even need an upgrade. I need a new phone because I've got Android, so I can't even jump on Clubhouse. But I know you guys are killing it on there anyway. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming on. As you guys know already, and the people that are watching, if you come from my platform, then you know I've got two sides of the business. I've got KBM Financial Focus, which is more to do with financial systems within a business, financial systems within a business, but usually SMEs, and also for personal finance as well, personal accounting for young people, for people who are entrepreneurs, for freelancers. It's more for those kind of people that I'm doing the work for. Especially in the arts and the creative industry, because that's the industry that I know the best. On the other side of it, you got KBM Edu Wealth, and the focus this year is going to be that side of it, and that's working with young people and teaching them about finances. So as you can see, we're starting our first program with another person on Instagram, young spender, Nikita. We're doing that. It's going to be a 5-week program. We're going to teach them, first of all, what is money. That's the first thing we're going to get them to understand what money actually is. Then talking about obviously credit rating, credit scores, credit reports, assets, liabilities, bad debts, free good debts, and also like financial goals, making those smart goals, building, like I said before, doing the long term, and playing the long game as well. Unfortunately, the schools they don't teach it in schools, because if they did, then we'll all be on a certain level. So they're not going to teach that in school. So it's up to us to try and do something to help the young people. So that's going to be the focus this year. We're trying to make it fun for people who haven't seen it yet and they're still online. We've got the other side of this podcast is called Finesse My Finance v Gen Z. So we get the young people on instead, and there's about 8 or 9 of them, and we ask them questions. So instead of listening to what adults think that the young people are doing, we ask them the questions. The last one that came out was, is Gen Z too focused on making money? So if you want to see that came out 2 days ago, and we've got some interesting answers. And these guys that I've got on, Lewis knows most of them. These guys are raw, so they don't hold back any punches. They don't care what adults going to say to them or anything like that. But it's just trying to make it more relevant for them, and there's more things coming out with that. Also, I'm just going to keep plugging myself. I can't lie to you guys. Also, there's myself and Lewis, we did an interview or like a live back in October. And so with Atto as well, that was called the Black Wealth series. So that's on there. That's on there at the moment. Lewis was the last one that came out. And then Atto, you were episode 5, so that will be coming out in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to release each episode 1 week at a time, alongside with everything else that's getting released as well. I'm trying to calm down on how much content I'm releasing at one moment, because I know people are going a bit crazy. So I'm going to stop doing that. But I think that was the last plug. Actually, no, sorry. This plug is not even for me. This plug is not even for me. This is actually for the charity that I work with. They've started an investment club. It's called the 100 Investment Club, and it's more aimed towards people that they wanted to get into investing, but they don't know where to start, or they've just started investing, but it would be nice to watch someone. You know, they have these apps where you can see what someone else traded for that week. It'll be like that, but this one will be a Zoom call. So every week, the person will come on Zoom and say, this is what I've done. This is the reason why I've picked these stocks. And it's going to be in crypto, in Forex, and also in stocks and shares. So if you're interested in that, then send me a message and we can get you signed up. There's no cost to it. So it's literally you're just going there to try and see what other people are doing. And at least you have someone that can ask the questions rather than what's happening within our community at the moment is everyone's hearing investing. They go and then put all their money that they've worked their hardest to go and invest in something because someone told them that it's going to shoot up. They lose all their money like, oh man, what happened? So we're trying to stop that from happening. At least ask someone, do you think I should do this? And then you base your decisions off that. But that's it. It did make it to exactly 2 hours. It's mad. It did 2 hours again today, guys. I don't know why I lied to myself that it's going to be an hour. But thank you everyone